Hi everyone, it's Justine here from House of Mahalo. Thanks so much for joining me and welcome to the first video of my star project for this month. So I am making a journal folio combination project from this mince pie box, and it has a window in the front, so I thought I would definitely make use of that. And inside I'm going to have at least one signature, if not two. And then I'm going to have flip outs using envelopes, which is going to have interactive ephemera pieces and pockets and things like that. So it's going to be a writing journal with those signatures in the middle, but it's also going to have lots of interactivity associated with it. So if you're going to be following along, what you'll need for this type of project is some kind of box type packaging. So food boxes, food packaging, are good things for this, such as biscuit boxes, cereal boxes, mince pie boxes. You can even do smaller ones. So if you have a look at my mini masterclass, I used a cough drop box to make a mini journal. And essentially many of the steps are the same for upcycling this type of packaging, so I will explain all of that. But I've also got a series of different envelopes, and I'm going to be using some of the pages from my Woodland Wonders series. These are portrait William Morris pages, but primarily I am actually using scrapbook papers. I can't remember the brand off the top of my head, but I will write it down below for you. But it's a really beautiful winter woods kind of paper. So, lots of browns, but also lots of snow in there, animals and different things. I have done a flip through of this on my YouTube channel, so I will link that video and I will mention the brand down below so you've got all of that information to hand. Okay, so the first step that we want to do is prepare our packaging. So for this one, I'm going to start by gluing these flaps down. You don't have to do this because we are going to be adding some strength and reinforcement to the spine already, but to save on waste, I'm going to go ahead and glue these down, and it will just give the top of my spine a little bit more protection and a little bit more strength. Because I imagine these journals, where I'm going to do the signatures in the middle, I imagine I'm probably going to do removable, elastic binding removable journals, that kind of thing. Now we are going to add some reinforcement to the spine using some grey board or cardstock, but this will just give the top of it just that little bit extra room. But the rest of this is all pretty tatty, so I'm going to go ahead and cut these off. So just checking my scissors were the right way around. So I'm going to go around and I'm just going to cut these off. So essentially all of these extra flaps, I'm going to go away and just trim them off with scissors, and I'm going to do it relatively neatly, making sure that everything is relatively straight. You could use a trimmer, but I'm going to use scissors today. Okay, so I've gone around all of that. Everything is now neat and straight. And we are now going to reinforce the spine. So I have got some grey board and I've already cut it down to size just to save time. And that's essentially going to go in our little spine area. So you want it to be the height of your journal cover, but when you close up the two edges, you want to make sure that the spine is just a little bit smaller, narrower than these middle grooves, for example, so that when you close it up, you want the spine to still be able to lay completely flat. Now, I have used grey board simply because that's what I have. If you don't have something like this, don't go out and buy anything. What I would recommend is you could use cardstock, maybe a couple of layers of cardstock together. You could use cereal box, you could use the backs of scrapbook paper pads or even the fronts of scrapbook paper pads. Any kind of cardstock type packaging that you've got will work just fine for this, so please don't go out and buy anything special. The only thing that I will say is you want it to be, you know, strong enough. So if you're going to use some kind of thin packaging or thin cardstock, you may want to just glue 2 or 3 layers together. But in the case of this is grey board, so it is, you know, meant for spines, I suppose, meant for this kind of thing. But it is just because I had it in my stash. I wouldn't go out and buy anything special because you don't need it. So I'm just making sure that's nicely glued down. Okay, lovely. So the next thing that I want to do is just go around and add some craft paper tape to the edges of my packaging. And that's really just to cover up this core of the paper. It will also give them a little bit extra sturdiness. And also I want to go down my spine anyway, so that I can make sure everything is down, you know, really, really well. So I'm just going to come down the spine first of all. And then these pieces I'm just going to flap over here. And this will give our spine even more strength and sturdiness as well, especially on those grooves that fold inwards. So get that both sides. So what I mean about adding the strength is when we fold these, I'm going to have extra layers of tape along here, and that will just protect everything from itself. Okay, and then I just like to go in the middle so that all those pieces of tape are joined together. So there's no worrying about anything in terms of you know, if things are not glued as well. This tape is really strong. It's what framers use. So now all of those layers of tape are going to be joined together, and already I can feel that it's giving it a lot of strength. Now, because I'm going to be covering up all of this packaging, I'm safe to use the tape the whole way round, and I'm going to actually, yeah, I'm going to overlap it. I wish I'd overlapped it more than that, but I couldn't quite see what I was doing. I'm going to fold the tape inside, and that's just going to protect my edges. But because this is paper tape, it's not sellotape, it's not plasticky, it's paper, it also means that when I come to finish off my journal, I could go around the whole thing with paint or distress inks, and that will you know, give it a good look as well. Just in case you were wondering what my end goal is with this, it's just, and also it covers up part of the packaging, it disguises it slightly. So if I were to cover the back of this with cardstock, which is what I'm going to do, if I were to miss slight parts of it or something, then the brown tape, masking tape, white masking tape, that would work too. But that tape is just going to give it a bit of a disguised look, I guess, is what I'm going for. So I'm going to come along here, just get all of my edges with this tape. I'm just making sure it's down, adhered down well, everything's, you know, straight and flat. Now you absolutely don't have to do this step. I just think it gives it more protection, but it also gives it a nice look for you to be able to, you know, ink and paint over, and you don't have to worry about what packaging is showing where. Now, if you were going to be covering up your packaging with fabric, such as if yours doesn't have a window, and this is what I did in my mini junk journal masterclass, if you're covering it with fabric, you don't need to worry about this tape. As I said, it's not essential anyway, but you wouldn't need to do this, because your fabric would be the thing that flaps over and hides all of your edges, if that makes sense. As I said, I did do that in my mini junk journal masterclass, so I definitely recommend checking that out if you haven't. That was where I upcycled a cough drop box into a mini journal, and it turned out really nice, and that was an example of using fabric on the packaging. Okay, last edge. I know you probably can't see down here, but okay, I'm just trying very hard not to catch it on my table. Yeah, already I can feel that that's added some strength to the packaging, which is good. Make it nice and sturdier anyway. As I said, I am going to line the back and probably the inside with some kind of cardstock, so that will give it even more, strength and protection. But now that's feeling already like it's got a bit of extra protection. And then just for good measure, I am going to go along the spine here on the outside as well. Again, it's probably overkill, it's probably not needed, but it just allows me then to make sure that these edges are going to be easy to cover up with paint or something, whilst also making sure that everything is down well and strong and sturdy and all of that good stuff. So I'm just going to come along here and just cut those edges off. Get the tape all stuck to my scissors, of course. There we go. Last bits now. Okay, let's just check things over, make sure we're happy. Everything is down and neat. As I said, a lot of this will be, covered up and disguised and all the rest of it, but gives us a good base. Okay, now because we've added that extra layer of tape, we might just need to, just make sure that's definitely down right. I don't think I pulled that over quite enough, so just do that. As I said, this will all be hidden because I'm going to have fabric along the spine anyway, but just to be on the safe side, it gives it a really nice strong look. So now you can see my packaging is nice and even with just that little bit of tape, and obviously putting the spine in, it's made everything a lot stronger. And obviously now we can go ahead and add the cardstock and everything and make sure we've got something nice in the window. So that will be the next step for us to do. Okay, so I think the next step that I'd like to do is just make sure that I've got the sort of the base of the cover ready to go, and then I can start building up how I want the journal to look. And one of the things that I need to do is obviously cover up this mince pie look. And obviously we've got the window in the front here, so we need to take that into consideration when making a journal cover like this. Now, if you were using non-window packaging, you wouldn't have to think about that. You would just cover the whole thing and then decorate it up how you like. But because I am doing this window, and I wanted to show you, I am going to have, I've got this vintage Christmas card, and I'm going to attempt to have these little bunnies in the window. That is what I'm going for. So what I'm going to do is, I've got some cardstock. This was just a piece of scrapbook paper, and I'm going to use this for my cover just so that I can get this nice brown and it's got a slight snowy look to it. That's going to be my background, and then I'm going to start building up a picture with the idea that these bunnies are, you're looking through the window at these bunnies. That's kind of the look I'm going for. But the first step is to get this base layer down. And because I've got the window here, now there are a few different ways that you could do it. If you want to keep it really, really simple and easy, you could take out the plastic that's already in the window so that you can either draw around it onto your paper and cut the window frame out, or you could glue that onto the front and then cut from behind, and you know, that would be fine too, and then you would just tidy it up and do some inking. I don't want to replace this plastic because it's not ripped, it's perfectly fine, it's perfectly clean, so I want to keep that rather than get rid of it. So the way that I'm going to do it is I have got some more plastic packaging. This is just something I had in my stash, and it's almost the width of my cover. And what I'm doing is I'm lining up my plastic packaging with my edge here, essentially where I'm going to have the cardstock, and I am going to essentially trace where my window is. And when I come to cut this out, I will cut it slightly smaller so that you won't see any of the packaging through my window. Now, I'm not suggesting this is the best way to do it, but it's the way that I thought to do it. So if I put that to one side for now. So I have essentially got this piece. So if you make sure that you've got your front panel, and I mentioned how I've got this edge of the plastic packaging to the edge of the journal cover. Okay, so if I line that up where I want it, essentially this is telling me this is where I'm going to be cutting on my scrapbook paper. Now, obviously this is on the plastic packaging rather than the paper. So what I'm going to do is take some strong scissors, because this is quite thick paper, plastic packaging. I'm just going to cut a slit, and I'm just going to, whoops daisy, essentially cut this window out. That is what I'm going to be doing. So I'm just getting in with my big scissors first, and then I'll go around this with little scissors. You could use a craft knife. I am going to be choosing to use my little scissors because I just find that it is easier, less prone to slippage. So I use the Tim Holtz mini snips. So I'm going to cut out this window, and then I will have something that I can use to trace onto my scrapbook paper. So this particular window, I am cutting it the size that I drew. So I'm just following my lines. Obviously it's not going to be perfect, and that's a-okay. And then when I trace this onto my scrapbook paper, I will cut slightly smaller so that if I don't cut in a completely straight line, it won't matter. I won't show any of the packaging through. I hope this is making sense. Okay, there we go. It's relatively okay to me. So now I have a frame with which to draw around it. Now, as I mentioned, this is the long-winded way to do it in terms of, you know, if you were just going to put the cardstock down onto the packaging and just cut around it, you know, that would be a lot easier and quicker. But if you don't want to replace the packaging in the window, then this is just one way that you know where to cut. Okay, right, so this one I want to be obviously neater with. So coming in with my little scissors. Now, as mentioned, I am going to cut this slightly smaller than that line by, like, I don't know, it's probably a millimetre smaller, and that's just so that it will cover me in case everything, you know, in case I've not traced things properly, I've not cut in the right place. Because I would rather this hangs over than be able to see the packaging through underneath, if that makes sense. Now, if that does happen to you, it really does not matter as much, because there are things that you can do to you know, decorate the cover to have things be, to have things look neater. For example, you could add, you know, a die cut window to the outside, and that would cover up your cutting, as an example, which may be what I'll end up doing. We'll have to find out. Have to see how I decide to go. I've got, you know, a few different options that I could go for. So I'm just cutting this out roughly to start with. I say roughly, relatively roughly. I'm still trying to be neat about it. But I am going to tidy things up in a minute, because I have a feeling I've gone a little bit wonky woo. But it could be worse. So I'm just going to tidy up where I think that, you know, where things are just not quite so neat. Just a little bits here and there. And as I said, it doesn't need to be perfect. It's homemade after all. But we just want it to be, you know, neatish. So I'm just going to go around and sort this out, and I'll be back with you in a moment. So I'm just rubbing out my pencil markings. I have just checked the window is looking good, so I'm happy with all that. Now, in hindsight, isn't hindsight a wonderful thing? I probably should have drawn on the back of this rather than on the front. And I'm sure you were all probably screaming at me as I did it. But, you know, obviously I used pencils, so I'm just going around and just rubbing it out. And I'm going to be decorating up the front cover anyway, so I don't think anyone will know unless they watch this video. Okay, all sorted there. And then the last thing that I want to do is just go around with some ink. Now obviously this is a woodland theme for me, so even though it's snowy winter, I am going to have, you know, brown and stuff, so I'm okay for this to have ink on it. It just disguises anything that maybe was not so neat about my cutting. And then I'm just going to go around all of the outside as well. It's not a necessary step, you know, if you don't like the distressed look, then please don't do it. But in this case, I would like to have this. Okay, so let's bring in our packaging. So as I mentioned, I did already check that everything is fitting well. That's the only thing with cutting windows and things is, you know, if you do get things in the wrong place, then it can throw your plans into whack. But I think that's looking, you know, relatively okay. And obviously my cutting is not perfect, but I really don't mind. And if I do end up adding like a window frame to the outside of this, then you're not going to see it anyway. Because I do have, this was a die cut card that I got on eBay. So I could potentially have that over my window. I could put, you know, some lace or some crochet around. I could just put some fussy cuts in places. So there are definitely options. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get these panels stuck down, because this is forming part of my decoration on my cover basically. I'm using Mahalo glue. It just gives me wiggle room. And I can always get the edges with, you know, my finer nozzle, which sometimes I use art glitter glue, sometimes I use Cosmic Shimmer glue. I think I'm using Cosmic Shimmer at the moment. So just going to go ahead and glue that. So I have cut my panels slightly smaller than my cover. And that's another reason why I wanted to do the brown tape, because I wanted to cut them slightly smaller, so that, you know, nothing is overhanging, everything is nice and, you know, sturdy and glued down well and all of that sort of stuff. But by adding the brown tape, obviously it just disguises that packaging underneath compared to if I had left it. And obviously I can still go around with, you know, paint or something. There we go. We are taking shape. Now I have got the same paper, scrapbook paper for the back, but the issue was that I had a 12 by 12 and it's not, my cover is wider than a 12 by 12. So I've got this little gap here, which is going to be on the back, and that's okay because I'm going to have fabric, and I would rather have that on the back because I didn't want to cover it over with the fabric too much because I'm going to have like trees and animals and things on the front cover. But for the back, I'm going to be able to cover that up with just some crochet or some lace. So if things like that, you know, if your paper isn't big enough, there are ways that you can make it work. I just wanted to mention that in case it helped you. So I'm just quickly inking this because again, I've cut this height-wise, and you saw how narrow it was. I've cut this smaller than the packaging so that nothing is hanging over. Okay. And then again, I'm going to use the same glue. If you can't get Kalal, I know some people in the US say they can't get it over there, which is a shame because it's a really good glue. But if you can't get it, then you could use Fabri-Tac or Beacon 3-in-1. They're the same glue, but they're very good glues. They give you wiggle room. I'm just standing up so I can make sure I'm putting it in straight. And yeah, that would be adhered down well as well. But you want something that gives you just that little bit of wiggle room, so that you can slide the paper into place, and you can obviously, you know, be checking where things are. So yeah, that extra step of doing the brown tape, it is an extra step, but it's well worth it for just giving you that peace of mind when you come to glue your papers down. If you do cut things slightly wonky or slightly short, or you know, anything like that happens, then that paper tape just protects you a little bit, so you don't have to worry about things quite so much. I was just looking for my brayer because where this is just glued, just want to make sure these are down well. I might sew around this with my sewing machine. Not necessary because, you know, it is glued down well, especially with that braying. But I like the sewn look, so I might very well decide to sew around the cover. I'm just sort of deciding on my options at the moment. Okay, so I think the next thing for me to do is to get my picture into the window. So this is a vintage Christmas card. I don't know what year it would be. Don't think it says on it. But it folds out. It's basically made from a couple of layers of paper. But of course you can use anything you like in your window, just as long as it's a picture that you like. Now, unfortunately, I'm not going to get both baby bunnies in. I want the mum and at least one baby. So I'm just sort of deciding where I want them. I think something like that. So I'm just going to cut along one side and just along the bottom, and then anything that's overhanging can be cut off later. Okay, so because I've got that plastic layer there, I'm just going to use my Fabri-Tac. It's Beacon 3-in-1 Fabri-Tac, they're both the same. It's the only glue I can get to work well with plastic. So if anyone has any suggestions, let me know. Lost my bunnies for a minute then. It will also give me sliding room, because obviously I want to make sure that I get my bunnies where I want them. So I'm going to make that be the focus for the second. Just slide them into place. And then anything else will either get cut off or extra glue. Okay. So I'll do that, and then I will use my other glue just to get some of these edges down. So it would be very nice to use, you know, a digital image, an image from a scrapbook paper. In this case I've used Christmas cards. You could use images from a book. There are so many different things you could use inside your window. Okay, and then I've just got a little bit there of overhang, so I'll just cut that bit off. That's that. Right, let's see how my bunnies are looking in the window. Yeah, they're mostly where I wanted them. Okay, so the next thing that I want to start thinking about is the inside, just again for giving this cover strength and just building up the base of it. So what I've done is I have glued a couple of my sheets from the Woodland Wonders kit. I've glued them onto some cereal box, and this is just because cereal box is, you know, it's relatively sturdy, it's free, always a plus. So I've gone ahead and glued those on there, so just leaving them to dry for a bit, and I'm going to cut them out. Now, ordinarily, if you were to make a normal journal and you were using packaging to do this, you could go ahead and glue the panels inside, and then if you wanted to, again, you don't have to, you could then sew around the whole thing. Everything would be sewn, including the inside. And then you would add your pages. Now, because I want to add these flip outs and folio pieces with the envelopes, I can't sew through these until I've done the envelope part. So for me, the way that I'm going to do it is I'm going to take this to my sewing machine and sew around it, and then I'm going to sew these panels individually, and then when I'm ready to do the flip outs, those will be glued inside. So they will look sewn, but not technically be actually sewn. I think that's how I'm going to do it. Okay, so I'm just going to pause the video there. I'm going to get these cut out and sewn around. So I've got 2 individual card panels. And then for the next part, we're going to go ahead and start constructing the next parts of it. So you'll see me put the inside panels in, and we'll do the flip out part of it. And then of course we need to decorate up the cover, do the signatures, all of that good stuff. So I'll be back with you very soon. Okay, so I finished sewing around the cover, so I'll just show you quickly what I did. I just did a straight stitch all the way around the outer cover and around the window. I haven't sewn down here yet because I'm actually going to be putting lace inside the journal. And I've sewn, remember how I put the nice papers on the cereal box? I've also sewn around those separately because these are actually going to be glued into the cover, but I want to wait until I'm ready with all the flip outs and things. So, you know, we're going to go bit by bit for making this, but I just wanted to show you what I had sewn so you know if you are doing that, then that's what you can do. As I said, it's not essential. I just like the look of it. I think it adds, you know, a bit of extra character, and also it allows me to you know that everything is down definitely really well. So the last things that I want to do for the cover just at the moment is I would like to put my closure in. So I've just cut a length of blush ribbon, which I think will be nice colours wise, and I'm going to have that go right the way across on the inside, so it won't be in the way of any flip outs, and also it's not going to affect my cover, because I could have had it on the outside, you know, going across there or something, but because I'm going to be decorating all of this up, I decided that I just want the closure to be sort of, you know, practical. It's not so much about what it looks like as such, other than, you know, a nice blush ribbon. So I'm going to have it go right across the middle, and the length of ribbon I've done 1 full length of the cover, and then I've gone over probably about 2 foot on each side. That's just because I love a nice big bow that trails down. I like that kind of look, so that's what I went for. Okay, and I'm going to attempt to get that in the middle. And I'm just going to use some brown craft tape just to fix it in place. As I said, everything will be glued on top of this shortly, so this is just extra protection in the middle. It's not, that's all it is really. So get that in there. Just make sure my ribbon is still down straight. Lovely. And I'm just cutting the tape slightly shorter so that it's hidden by the panels that I'm going to add later. So right, just chop that bit off without cutting through the ribbon. There we go. You won't see any of this, so it doesn't need to be super neat or anything. As I say, it's just to get it down nicely. So then that will come out of the side there, look, and then it will be able to tie with a bow at the side and, you know, have tails hanging down. Oh, excuse me, went a bit croaky there. Okay, and then I wanted to show you as well, I'm going to be putting some lace down the middle. Really, this is just to cover up the brown tape. I like the brown, it goes very much with the winter woods kind of vibe. But I thought this lace would be really nice. I don't like the fringed edges, but those are going to be hidden by my panels. So once I get these in, what you'll be able to see is the lace down the middle, and you'll be able to see just hints of it on each side, which I think is going to look really nice for a winter woods kind of thing. And the good thing about using the lace is it's wholey, so I still get to see the brown down the centre. So I'm pretty happy with that. So I'm just going to glue it, you know, dab the glue. I don't want loads of glue shining through the lace or anything. So I'm just going to dab it and then I'm just going to smush it. I will be sewing this lace on, so I don't need tons of glue, but if you're not going to be sewing around, then you might need to put more glue on, but just be careful how much fabric glue you use because it can be shiny. Okay. And then I'm just going to come along these edges as well. Just again, just dabbing it. A lot of that glue will be hidden underneath my panels anyway, but then I know my lace is down nicely. It will also add a little bit of strength to the spine as well. Not that it needs it, I think we've done a pretty good job with adding the, you know, the card or the grey board, but this will add a little bit extra as well as being more decorative than just tape or just grey board if you didn't have the tape. Okay. So I'm going to leave that to dry, and then once it's dry I'll be able to sort of go in and just make sure that all the edges are down so it doesn't like buckle up on me. So I think that will be just fine. And as I said, I am going to sew just down there, just on the edges, which will also mean that this edge is sewn. That's why I didn't sew down here, because I'm actually going to do that from the inside so I can see where the lace is, and then this will have this part sewn front and back. And then that will be covered by the spine decoration I'm going to do. Okay, so that's the basic construction of the cover ready to go. You haven't seen this video yet. This one is coming of me making a snippet roll for the spine. The only reason I've gone ahead with that is because I wanted to make sure that was all in the place with this fluty edge so that I can start decorating up the cover and finishing that off, which is what we're going to do now. I didn't want to do all of that without having this down first because I'm going to have some like trees and things here, and I wanted to make sure I knew how much space I've got so that I can start building up my little picture. But that is essentially the construction. So as I mentioned, I've sewn around everything, I've got that lace in there, and I do have a video of making this beautiful detail coming very soon. So I'm just going to keep this tied up so that A, it's out of my way, but also it will help me visualise how it's all going to look. Because I am now ready to do the finishing touches to my cover. Now I will say, before I get going, I love how that looks already. I think it's looking so beautiful. My only thing is that I feel like it needs more. Not like a tons more, but just I feel like just a little bit more detail on it I think will make it look really, really lovely. So I have got these die cut snowy trees. I got those from eBay, and I've also got this simple die cut which I've done on my machine here. So I'm going to use those. I've got some fluffy fabric. I just have a sample of it. Again, I just got this from eBay for I think probably something like 99p because it is just a sample. This is going to be snow, in case you were wondering. And I've got some eyelash trim, sort of sparkly white eyelash trim, which I thought would bring in some more sparkle. And I'm going to use stickles. So I've got diamond stickles. I'm going to use that on the fabric, I think, to give a little bit of a shimmer. So can you see that? It's going to be like snowy icicles. That's what I've got sorted so far. I may very well add more, but for now, that's what we're going with. I would like to build up the picture like this with it closed because I'm thinking that bow's going to help me visualise how it's all going to look. But the only thing is, gluing, I feel like this needs to be flat. So I think I'm going to go with it being flat because I'm fairly sure I know what I want to have. You can actually see the snippet roll, really lovely there. As I said, video coming. Okay, so I've got different size trees. So I've got like medium, smaller still, smaller again. So I'm going to do something with these. Now I want it to be that the bunnies kind of look like they're peeking out from behind the trees, just a little bit, not too much. So I'm just going to layer these up like a collage. I'm not going right to the bottom because I do want to leave room for my snow. And then I thought possibly about having just part of the tree down here so it looks like, you know, they really are peeking out from behind the trees. And then this snow is going to go somewhere like that. Okay, right, so as I said, I'm only gluing part of this, so I'm going to get these glued. I'm using Cosmic Shimmer, but it's like art glitter glue in this little bottle, so it's good for, you know, small die cuts and fussy cuts and things. So let's go ahead and pop that where I want it. Hopefully I don't glue it to my desk. This will just be like a tree in the foreground sort of a thing. Okay. I'll cut the rest off in a minute. I just want to mosey that on over. There we go. Okay, and then we'll go for this one. So this will be glued the whole way down. So I've actually had this project planned for quite a while, and it feels good to finally be putting it into action. And originally my plan originally was I had this massive tree. It was a big tree. I'll show you it. This great big thing. But then when I decided to do that snippet roll, which I didn't have planned originally, that is new, a new concept for me this time around, I just felt like that big tree was too much. But the reason why I'm putting that one slightly higher is to give the impression that it's a large tree. Okay. So I might need to go in with some extra gluing, the usual story, but my main goal for now is just to get everything in place where I want it, and I really want it to look like those bunnies are hiding in the trees, you know, coming out of the trees. Okay, so Just move up a bit actually. There we go. Oh, the concentration. So I'm trying to make sure that I don't get my window too gluey where I'm moving things around, but if I need to wipe it off a little bit, then I should be able to. Okay, and then that one there, and I'm going with this one because where it's bright white, it just gives a little bit of dimension. Now, if you were, you know, an experienced crafter and card maker, you may decide to do something like this using, you know, those 3D sticky pad things. For me, I prefer not to do that with stuff like this, just because it's on the cover. I want it to look 3D and everything, but I don't want it to be too bulky, because I do want somebody to be able to open up the journal flat. So that's just one thing that I would mention in terms of that. Okay, so I have committed to my trees, so I'm just going to cut the just cut this one down. So I'm just cutting it to as big as my cover is. Something I like to do, and probably why my voice has gone a little bit louder, is I like to, as I'm making collages and pictures and things, I do like to just take a moment to step back every so often, and I will actually stand up and stand back from it, just because you get a different look when you look at something above versus at this angle from working on it. So I just thought I would mention that. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with how that's looking. I think it's looking 3D enough. I'm just gonna peel those back from my window a little bit just to give a little bit of dimension there. Okay, so oops, the piece of tree I've cut off, I'm just going to keep that to one side, because, you know, if I find that I need extra tree or something, then it would be nice to have that just in case I do need it. And then I was thinking I'd like to do some kind of drapey thing with this as best I can anyway. So I'm just going to cut off a piece of it because I don't need the whole thing. And that'll just help me see better what I'm doing. Because where this is a little bit abstract, you know, I just have to sort of take it a bit at a time, I think, just to give it that kind of a look. Now, I'm not sure about these knobbly bits. I'm wondering if I can carefully just trim those down or something. Okay, in the end, I decided to just go for it and just completely cut the knobbly bits off. So I've got lots of holes in my fabric now, but that's okay, because I thought then it would be easier for me to ruffle it up and maneuver it more than if it had those knobbly bits on. So I've been brave. So it's just a case of me coming along and draping this fabric to look kind of like snow-like. Obviously it's not going to be perfect, but it's just the base. So I'm going to use fabric glue. I probably will sew this onto the cover, but just for the moment I'm going to use the fabric glue just to get it into where I want it to be. Okay, so I'm going to pop this part underneath there, like so. And then I'm just going to start squidging into the glue. There's no real scientific way to explain it, but I essentially want it to look like a snowy hill. Obviously it's very abstract, but I'm just going to use this as my base, and then I can add more to it, more things to it as we go. So you see how I'm squidging it, and I'm keeping an eye on where those holes in the fabric are, because obviously I don't want to see that. Gloopy glue. There we go. Right, put the glue away before I get that absolutely everywhere. The good thing about using the fabric glue is it just allows you the freedom to get things where you want it to be, bit by bit, especially with a technique like this where it's a little bit smudgy smudge, you know. And then if you want to sew it afterwards, then you can, but you don't have to. So I'm just going to play around with that a little bit. All you can see is all I'm doing is just smudging to give me just a powdery surface. So I'm going to keep smudging. So it just requires a little bit of play, and so I'm just making sure that all of those holes in the fabric are hidden. And I'm just making sure that it looks kind of flowy like this, like a hill, and ruffled and smudged a little bit more. So I'll keep going, and you'll see it when I'm finished. Okay, so I finished the fluffy fabric down the bottom. I still need to add the stickles, but I felt like maybe I needed to do something up the top here. So I've got some white snowflakes. These are just ones I've die cut myself at some point, just white ones, and I'm going to go over these with stickles as well. So I'm going to do something like that. So I need my little glue again. And I'm hoping, once I go over the fabric and the snowflakes with the stickles, I'm hoping that that's all it needs. So I'm just going to concentrate on these snowflakes. Just want to make sure that they're fully stuck down without getting glue everywhere, that's all. Yeah, I'm hoping this is all it needs really, the cover I mean, but I need to sort of see once I've done the stickles whether it has everything that I want. My original plan was I was going to be adding some sparkly fabric over the top of the snow, but that didn't quite go right, so didn't look right, I mean, it wasn't what I was after, so I hope that the stickles will be enough. But as with, you know, all collages and pictures and things, you just have to build it up layer by layer until you're happy with what you've got, really. I just hope that the camera is picking it up, you know, in enough beauty on the camera, because in real life it looks really, really pretty. Apart from that snowflake, I just want to get that one on there. Oops. Just want to make sure everything's clean. So as mentioned, I've got this diamond stickles, and I'm just going to go over the snowflakes and the fabric. So you have to excuse me if you do see the top of my head, because I just need to lean forward a second. I won't do all of this on video with you, and it does need time to dry, but I just wanted to show you. I'm just going to smudge it with my finger, just so that those snowflakes have just a hint of sparkle on them. But it does need time to dry, this stuff. So I usually, you know, just leave it, like it's the morning now, I just leave it for the afternoon and then come back to it. But I do think it's worth doing little touches like this, because I just think it just yeah, just adds that little bit of extra. I might even do some on the trees actually. So it's got snow on these trees. So I'm just going to go around, not every branch, but just in places. And then I think that will look quite nice too. The only reason I smudge it with my finger is just so that it doesn't look too placed. I like it to be a bit more natural, I guess. I hope this is interesting to see. As I said, it just gives you some ideas. I do love working on winter projects, partly for this reason, is you get to add all the extra, you know, sparkle and glimmer, and I mean, you can do that anytime you like, but I feel like at winter time you get extra permission, don't you, to add some sparkle. And the good thing about the stickles is it is subtle, especially when you just smudge it in a little bit. You know, it's not like smearing a load of glitter on top of it. It's just that little bit of a hint. And then I did, oh, and then mustn't forget this one as well, this tree. So just go over. Okay. And then I did want to just go over the fabric. So I'm just going to dot it and then I'll smudge it with my finger. Again, sorry if you can see my head. Just concentrating. So as I said, if I just smudge it in there. Then it will just be just that hint of a glisten. I don't want to touch the project now, I've got all of this in my hands. But I'm hoping it will just be just that little bit of a hint of a sparkle for, you know, snow and ice and all of that. Yeah, I think that's enough. I wouldn't want to do too much. So I think that's about as much as I'm going to do for now. I can always add more to it later if I feel like it needs it, but the stickles needs time to dry anyway. But yeah, hopefully you're liking how that's looking. Obviously it's very abstract, but I do like doing that sort of a thing with journals. I just feel like with this type of a project you can have so much fun with different materials and different things. And in the case of this sort of fluffy fabric, I just wanted to have a little bit of a fun with it. As I said, I may do a little bit of just little touch-ups here and there, maybe with just like little pieces of it, so that it looks less placed. But I'm just going to have a play around with that. So I'm happy with how it's looking, but I do feel like maybe it needs just something else. But I think it's also that feeling you get when you're making a project. Sometimes you also have to take a step away and come back to it with fresh eyes. So what I like to do, obviously I have to leave it to dry for those stickles anyway, but then I'll come back to it a day later, and sometimes I'll have, you know, a different idea again. But if it doesn't change from this, then I'm happy with that too, because I really do think it's what I wanted for my cover. So I hope you've enjoyed seeing that come together, and I hope you will stick around for the rest of the series as you see this really pretty Winterwoods project come to life. Now I hope you're feeling super inspired and ready to dive in for this month's challenge, but just before you go, I also wanted to mention something else that you may find inspiring. I would like to invite you to join the Mahalo Clubhouse. Now, if you've never heard about this before, it's hosted by me, and it's a friendly online community and a monthly membership for crafters who want to feel inspired, motivated and supported year round. I have recently revamped it completely for 2025, so it's got a brand new look, brand new benefits, and lots of good stuff to inspire you. So, as a member of the Mahalo Clubhouse, there's lots that you can look forward to every single month, such as brand new digital papers designed by me to help inspire you. You can also get inspiration from my upcoming projects and videos without ads distracting you or getting in the way of you learning. You also get early access to my videos, so you see them before they go up on YouTube. You'll be able to have your questions answered fully whenever you have them via live video calls that we do every month, and also we have a Facebook group. The live video calls are recorded, so even if you can't attend live, there are recordings and replays that you can watch in your own time. And also you have the option to submit questions and conversation topics ahead of time, so even if you're not there, you can still benefit from the live calls. But also there is already lots of good stuff to look forward to inside the Clubhouse, lots of bonuses including discounts to spend in my business, and also some bonus projects and videos that currently are not shared anywhere else. So there's lots to dive into. Even if you join today, there's lots to look forward to, lots to go through already, plus all of the monthly stuff, the new stuff that comes in every month. Really, my goal for anyone joining the Mahalo Clubhouse is to be inspired to try new things, but to feel fully supported and confident when you do. Really, that's the goal for all of my content, whether it's a blog post, a YouTube video, or the stuff I share in the membership. It's always with the goal that I want you to feel inspired, and I want to give, advice and ideas, inspiration and tutorials that will help you feel confident to try these new things. But if you do want more, if you want more me time, more inspiration, those digital papers every month, the live video calls and everything else that comes with the membership, then I do hope that you will consider checking out my webpage. You can go to houseofmahalo.com/clubhouse, or I will leave a link down to it below for you so you can check that out. So I hope to see some of you in the Clubhouse, but even if you decide that it's not right for you, I still hope that you get some ideas and inspiration from my videos. And I look forward to speaking to you all very soon. Thanks so much then. Bye-bye for now.